Mark Toft is the author of this book, Authenticity, Building a Brand in an Insincere Age. It's an excellent digest of 25 years of branding and advertising written by a very sharp mind and practitioner of the art. Mark joined me in an hour-long talk about the core of authenticity and what it means for financial institutions right now in this moment. To kick it off, I asked Mark to explain why he wrote this book.
There was so much malpractice in the branding and advertising world that my co-founder of Narrative Group and I looked at. And we wanted to sort of separate the wheat from the chaff as much as possible. The branding industry, like a lot of industries, has a lot of stuff that is cladded onto it like barnacles on a boat that really need to be scraped off. Really, branding in its essence should be something that simplifies and clarifies. It should be a liberating force for any company. A brand establishes your purpose, and your marketing and advertising takes that purpose and assembles it into a compelling story to an audience based on solving a problem.
Okay, so now let's contrast the environment we're in right now with marketing's purpose, which Mark explains in his book. On page 69, he writes, "When we share what makes us feel joy, love, awe, and enthusiasm, it's irresistible." Now, the backdrop of this moment is one of darkness, anger, the ugly side of humanity. We seem to be going from one crisis to the next. So I ask this.
Are we going to be seen as tone deaf if we're talking about beauty, or is it going to come out in stark relief to what people are viewing and feeling right now? What's your feel about like this very moment we're in?
Certainly the things that annoy us can help us find problems that ache to be solved, but the only way we really get people to follow us, I think, in healthy directions is by calling to beauty, calling to, in the context of that story you mentioned, people are beguiled by the beauty of a painting or a building or of a game played on a beautifully mowed lawn and the crack of the bat, and that creates in them a desire to play.
So what does seeking authenticity in marketing look like in practice?
I'm always trying to find how better to communicate what I care about and love. I'm trying to better create signs to where my goat is tied. Here's what I love. Here's what I'll die for. Here's why I'm here. Because people get behind that. People enlist in that. People embrace brands that know how to do that.
Now, Bank of America came up in our conversation, and Mark commented on B of A's newly restated purpose: to help make financial lives better through the power of every connection. That's where I get stuck a bit. And I'm sorry, I don't know what that means in the context of financial services, the power of every connection.
I think companies start to be tempted by clever sounding taglines, and they get these sirens of advertising, bring them onto the rocky shores of, we got to have something that sounds like a snappy tagline, like the power to connect. It doesn't actually say anything. And there is a chapter in the book that says avoid these words. And we go through a bunch of taglines out there, and it's staggering how many taglines say what matters most. How, we have the lifelines, the power of blank is everywhere, connecting is everywhere. And so it becomes part of this white noise that's out there in marketing where customers, it just kind of washes over them. There's nothing for them to cling to. It sounds familiar, so it sounds like advertising. It is advertising. But you ask them 5 minutes later, they don't remember it, and they don't know what it means. Taglines ought to be something that happen on the other end of a campaign. So really, establishing the hill you defend should be very focused, very single-pointed kind of strategy line. And then once you develop a campaign, all the good taglines I've been involved in the development of or have written are the perfect period to the end of a perfect radio spot or a perfect TV commercial. It's the only concluding sentence that you can have.
So what can community banks do to take advantage of the elan of this moment, when many of them are truly shining white knights in our collective hardship?
Community banks have a great opportunity to tap into a real pain. It doesn't take much to convince people that there's a better way. you and I just recently experienced some frustration with the way that we were served. So you're you're not creating a product in search of a problem to solve. Community bank can provide something that is really needed and really appreciated and really pretty well understood. Everybody, everyone understands loans. Everyone understands kind of what a bank does. You don't have to reintroduce a whole new lexicon of how an industry works. So I think some of that legwork is already done for community banks, and the problem is there, and the need is there, and the desire is there.
Okay, now layer on the fact that most community banks have very limited budgets.
If you get a really good message and you get some good advice and you get some great creative content, it's amazing how targeted you can be now with what's broadly called action-based digital. You don't buy space on particular websites anymore. You buy individuals.
Mark goes on to say that action-based digital is extremely cost-effective. Want to target young professionals in St. Louis who favor hockey over basketball? No problem. Now, many of us are in positions where we're asking for a sale, and we often end up in a position where we say, take a chance on me. Now, Mark turns it around this way.
But the really great way to go about it is to ask, is to take a chance on your customers. Not by giving things away for free. I've known people who find out the hard way too, that there's something called, I think it's related to price anchoring, that if you give something away for free, it is valued at zero. But there are ways to lower the barrier and to say, look, I'm taking a chance on you. If I'm Casper Mattress, I know that if I give you a year to return your mattress, you might use it for a year and return it cynically. Sure, some people are going to abuse it, but most people aren't, and they're going to appreciate that we're taking a chance on them.
A company with a great dedication to its purpose is more likely to be willing to take a chance on its customers. Now let's turn our attention to storytelling.
Storytelling is really just a guide and not a skeleton key. It should be something that disciplines your messaging. As any good writer knows, it's just a way to check yourself of asking what's at stake and so what.
Finally, Mark leaves us with this great commentary on the opportunity we have in the financial services industry.
You bet. I think there's a big opportunity in financial services to emulate or learn some of the lessons from the insurance industry. About 10 years ago, the insurance industry ranked pretty much at the bottom of consumer attitudes about brands. When you think about insurance, I mean, it's a necessary thing, but it's kind of a utility. I mean, it's something we unfortunately have to have in order to live. We got to insure our home, and we don't want it to burn down and flatten us, or car insurance. But customers were not well disposed towards it. They saw it as this necessary evil that they had to pay for, they had to invest in. But something happened gradually over time that insurance companies got better at differentiating their brands, and some of it is a little bit kind of on the cheap in terms of cheeky advertising, but they did find a way to make their brands more relatable and more, I should say, winning and more human. Where I think people, people feel very well disposed towards Esurance, towards Progressives, toward Geico. Although I think Geico is really pushing it with message saturation and financial services, lending. It's way more of a dream fulfiller than the insurance company. So already I feel like finance should be in a position to do even better than the insurance industry in terms of customer perceptions. Thanks for watching. Get the most out of Lendit by joining the LFD community at digital.lendit.com, where you can find all of our full-length replays. Until next time, keep up the hard work and take care.